8 Ways Muslim Women Protect Their Dignity and Faith in Today's World. Imagine walking through a crowded marketplace. Voices rise, music plays, advertisements scream for attention, and the world around you seems louder than ever before. In that noise, where does the voice of your soul stand? Where does the whisper of your faith call you? Today, Muslim women are not only walking through a busy marketplace, they are walking through a storm of modern pressures, of social media temptations, of shifting standards that try to define beauty, worth. Every image online, every trend, every expectation is pulling at their identity. And in that pull, one question rises: how can a Muslim woman protect her dignity and her faith in a world that constantly tests both? Let us remember something powerful: Muslim women are not ordinary women. They carry a divine trust. Their dignity is honored by Allah Himself, who has promised them protection, reward, and elevated status when they hold on to their faith. History tells us of strong women. Maryam as, who faced the world's accusations with unwavering faith; Khadija's Ray, who stood by the Prophet with wisdom and strength; and Fatima's Ray, who lived in simplicity yet shined with immense honor. These women remind us that dignity does not come from the eyes of people, but from the light of faith within. The challenge today is not only external but internal. It is the battle of the heart. Will a Muslim woman let society define her worth, or will she rise with the strength of her Deen? Will she bow to fleeting trends, or will she hold her head high with the crown of taqwa? The truth is this: the world may try to take away many things, but it can never take away the dignity of a woman who guards her faith. That dignity is sacred, it is powerful, and it is her shield in a world full of distractions. So today, let us explore the ways every Muslim woman can rise above the storm and protect her dignity and faith with courage, with clarity, and with pride in her Islamic identity. To hold firm to Islamic identity in today's world is to carry a light in a time of shadows. It means embracing the very core of who you are without fear, without apology, and without compromise. Your Islamic identity is not simply a label, it is the reflection of your values, your choices, and your commitment to Allah. It is what makes you stand tall even when the world tries to push you down. It is what keeps you dignified when society wants to strip away your worth. And it is what makes you unique in a time when everyone else is trying to blend in. There are countless voices today that will try to redefine what it means to be a woman. They will tell you that beauty is measured by skin, by clothes, by likes and comments. They will tell you that strength is in imitation, that freedom is in breaking boundaries, and that confidence is in pleasing others. But the truth is, your real strength is in obedience to Allah. Your real beauty is in your modesty, and your real freedom is in living by the guidance of your Creator. To hold firmly to your Islamic identity means you do not let the world tell you who you are, because you already know, you are a servant of Allah, honored with dignity that no one can take away. When you walk with your Islamic identity, it reflects in your words, in your dress, in your choices, and in the way you carry yourself. Your hijab is not just a piece of cloth, it is a crown that represents modesty and faith. Your character is not just behavior, it is a testimony of your heart. Your values are not outdated rules, they are eternal principles given by Allah to protect your soul. Holding on to this identity does not mean life will be easy. In fact, it may mean standing alone at times, but it also means you walk with the protection, love, and mercy of Allah wherever you go. Holding firm to your Islamic identity also requires courage, because you will face moments where people question you, mock you, or try to pressure you into letting go. But every moment of resistance is an act of strength, every step of patience is a victory, and every sacrifice for your Deen is an investment in your hereafter. To hold firm to your identity is to declare to the world that you choose Allah over trends, the hereafter over this Dunya, and eternal honor over temporary approval. Choose your company wisely, because the people who surround you shape the person you are becoming. Human beings are deeply influenced by their environment, and whether we realize it or not, the energy, values, and actions of those closest to us seep into our own lives. For a Muslim woman striving to protect her dignity and faith, this truth is even more significant. Every friend, every companion, every circle you place yourself in will either pull you closer to Allah, or slowly drag you away from Him. That is why being intentional about who you allow into your life is one of the greatest acts of self-respect and self-protection you can practice. When you are in the company of people who remember Allah, who strive to live by the Quran and Sunnah, and who encourage goodness, you feel a sense of strength and peace. Their conversations remind you of what truly matters, their actions inspire you to stay committed, and their presence shields you from falling into heedlessness. Such friends will remind you to pray when you forget. They will advise you with kindness when you slip, and they will celebrate your spiritual growth rather than envy it. These are not just companions. They are mirrors reflecting the best version of yourself, pushing you to rise higher and remain steadfast in your values. On the other hand, if you keep company with those who mock faith, dismiss modesty, and constantly invite you to compromise your principles, you will find yourself struggling to maintain your dignity. Even if your intentions are pure at the start, their influence will eventually leave a mark. The Prophet taught us that a person is upon the religion of their close friend, which means your inner circle becomes a reflection of your own state of heart. If you sit among people who gossip, indulge in sin, and chase the fleeting pleasures of the Dunya, you risk dulling the light of your own iman without even realizing it. Slowly, habits change, language shifts, priorities weaken, and what once felt wrong begins to feel normal. Choosing your company wisely is not about arrogance or thinking you are better than others. It is about protecting your heart and safeguarding your connection with Allah. Sometimes it means stepping away from toxic friendships, no matter how long they have lasted. Sometimes it means seeking out new circles, joining study groups, attending gatherings of knowledge, or simply surrounding yourself with people who lift you higher. The right company nurtures your faith like water nourishes a plant. It helps you grow, it keeps you alive, and it shields you from withering. There will always be voices around you, but you must decide which ones you allow into your soul. Surround yourself with people who speak truth, who value sincerity, who remind you of Allah more than they remind you of the world. The strength of your faith is not just built in solitude, but in the environment you choose, and when your company is righteous, your path becomes clearer, your heart becomes stronger, and your dignity remains protected. Guarding your eyes, ears, and heart is one of the most powerful ways to protect your dignity and faith in today's world. The human soul is like a vessel, and whatever you allow into it through your senses will either purify it or pollute it. Your eyes, your ears, and your heart are gates, and these gates determine the condition of your iman. If they are left open to anything and everything, the treasures of your dignity will slowly be stolen away. But if they are guarded with care and consciousness, your faith becomes stronger, your self-respect grows, and your connection with Allah remains intact. The eyes are windows to the heart. What you look at does not just stay on the surface, it travels deep inside and leaves an imprint on your soul. In a world overflowing with images, temptations, and endless exposure to things that distract from Allah, lowering the gaze becomes an act of courage and obedience. Every glance that you turn away from haram is not a loss but a victory, because you are protecting the purity of your inner world. The eyes can trigger desires, create comparisons, or weaken gratitude, but when they are disciplined, they lead you toward contentment and clarity. Guarding your eyes means choosing what you allow yourself to see, being mindful of what you watch, what you scroll through, and what you consume visually, because every sight has an effect on your iman. The ears too are doors to the soul. Every word you listen to, every song, every conversation, every message, carries energy that seeps into your mind and shapes your thoughts. Words can either uplift or destroy, they can heal or poison, they can remind you of Allah or make you forget Him. If you spend your time listening to gossip, foul language, or content that normalizes sin, then your heart begins to feel heavy and distant from faith. But when you listen to Quran, to beneficial reminders, to conversations that encourage goodness and wisdom, your heart becomes light, and your spirit finds peace. Guarding your ears is about filtering the noise of the world, and choosing what you let in, because once something enters through the ears, it becomes a seed planted in the heart. The heart is the most precious treasure you possess, and it is also the most vulnerable. It is the place where iman lives, where sincerity grows, where your love for Allah resides. But the heart is also influenced by everything the eyes see and the ears hear. If you do not guard it, it becomes clouded, restless, and weak. A heart exposed to constant distractions, sins, and harmful influences will lose its sensitivity, and what once brought tears and humility may no longer move it. That is why the Prophet emphasized that in the body there is a piece of flesh which, if it is sound, the whole body is sound, and if it is corrupted, the whole body is corrupted, and that is the heart. Guarding the heart means protecting its purity, feeding it with remembrance, and shielding it from anything that can harden it. In today's world, guarding your eyes, ears, and heart requires discipline, self-awareness, and intention. It means pausing before you look, before you listen, before you absorb. It means asking yourself, will this bring me closer to Allah or further away from Him? Will this make my heart softer or harder? Will this protect my dignity or compromise it? Every small decision adds up, and over time, the protection of these gates builds a fortress of faith within you. When your senses are guarded, your soul is safe, your mind is clear, and your heart remains alive with the light of iman. Standing strong against pressure is one of the greatest challenges a Muslim woman faces in today's world, yet it is also one of the most rewarding struggles. Every day there are waves of expectations, trends, and demands that push women to conform, to compromise, and to let go of the values that protect their dignity and faith. Pressure comes from many directions: family, friends, workplaces, society, and especially the media that constantly shapes standards of beauty, success, and happiness. To resist these pressures requires courage, clarity, and trust in Allah, because the path of faith often means swimming against the current. From a young age, Muslim women are told how they should look, how they should act, and what they should aspire to. Advertisements tell them their worth lies in appearance. Social platforms whisper that popularity defines value. And modern culture convinces them that freedom is found in abandoning religious boundaries. This constant noise creates a pressure that can weigh heavily on the heart. But strength comes when a woman realizes that true dignity does not come from society's approval. It comes from standing firm upon the truth, even when it is unpopular. Every time she resists that pressure, she is choosing eternal honor over temporary applause. Standing strong does not mean the absence of fear or doubt. It means facing them with resilience. It means knowing that even if others do not understand her choices, Allah does. It means accepting that she may lose friends, opportunities, or recognition, but she will never lose the love and reward of her Creator. The pressure to remove the hijab, to dilute modesty, to join in gatherings that displease Allah, or to compromise values for acceptance is real. Yet with every act of resistance, a Muslim woman writes a testimony of strength that echoes louder than the voices of conformity. The Prophet said that Islam began as something strange and will return to being strange, so glad tidings are for the strangers. This hadith is a reminder that feeling out of place, feeling different, and feeling the weight of being other is not a weakness but an honor. To be strong against pressure is to embrace that strangeness with pride, knowing that Allah sees every struggle, every choice, and every tear shed in moments of loneliness. A Muslim woman who stands strong shines as an example for others, proving that dignity and faith are possible even in a world that constantly challenges both. Strength against pressure also comes from building inner conviction. Conviction grows from knowledge of the Quran, the Sunnah, and the stories of women in Islamic history who faced pressures far greater yet remained steadfast. Maryam faced accusations from her people but stood strong with faith in Allah. Sumayya's Rav endured torture and gave her life for Islam. Khadijah stood by the Prophet when the world turned against him. Their courage is proof that faith empowers women with resilience greater than any worldly force. Drawing inspiration from their lives gives today's women a roadmap to face modern pressures with grace and strength. Another way to resist pressure is to strengthen the inner voice that constantly reminds you of your purpose. When a woman fills her heart with dhikr, surrounds herself with righteous companions, and nurtures her relationship with Allah, her resolve becomes unshakable. The pressure of people begins to fade when weighed against the majesty of Allah. She learns to ask, who am I trying to please, the creation or the Creator? This simple question becomes a shield, allowing her to stand tall even when the world tries to bend her down. Society may offer temptations disguised as opportunities and mock faith as outdated, but every challenge is an invitation to rise stronger. The more the pressure builds, the more valuable the resistance becomes. Diamonds are formed under pressure, and so are believers. A Muslim woman who refuses to bow to the weight of expectations becomes a diamond in her own right, rare, resilient, and radiant. Her strength not only protects her dignity but inspires others to protect theirs. She becomes a living reminder that faith is not weakness but power, that modesty is not limitation but liberation, and that standing strong is not isolation but elevation. Pressure will never disappear, it will only take new shapes with time. But what matters is the decision a woman makes each time she is tested. Will she choose what pleases people, or what pleases Allah? Will she follow fleeting trends or eternal truth? Will she bend to the weight of pressure, or rise above it with the wings of faith? The answer to these questions defines not only her dignity in this world, but also her status in the hereafter. Seek strength in prayer and dua, for they are not just rituals but lifelines that connect you to the source of all power, comfort, and guidance. In a world filled with uncertainty, noise, and constant demands, prayer and dua are the anchors that keep the heart steady and the soul firm. When everything around you feels overwhelming, when the weight of expectations presses down, when loneliness creeps into the corners of your heart, it is in sujood that you find relief and in whispered supplications that you discover hope. Prayer is not a burden, it is a gift, and dua is not weakness, it is the strongest weapon a believer possesses. Every salah is a chance to pause the chaos of life and stand before Allah in humility and surrender. It is a moment where the dunya fades away and your heart converses directly with the one who knows you better than you know yourself. When you recite Surah Al-Fatiha, you are reminded that Allah is the master of the day of judgment, the most merciful, and the one you turn to for help. When you bow in ruku, you recognize your smallness before His greatness. And when you place your forehead on the ground in sujud, you experience the highest honor in the lowest position. Salah trains the heart to be firm, to seek strength not from people. Dua, on the other hand, is the intimate language of the heart. It requires no perfect words, no eloquence, no rehearsed lines. It is raw, it is real, and it is powerful because it is heard by Allah, who is closer than your jugular vein. Dua is the believer's weapon because it transforms weakness into strength, despair into hope. When a woman lifts her hands to Allah, she is declaring that her trust lies not in the world, but in the one who controls the world. She acknowledges that her dignity, her guidance, and her protection come only from Him. Seeking strength in prayer and dua also means turning to them consistently, not just in moments of crisis but in times of ease. Too often, people remember only when they are in need, but the true believer builds a relationship with Allah in every season of life. When life feels light, prayer preserves gratitude. When life feels heavy, when doors seem closed, dua opens them in ways unimaginable. When hearts feel restless, dua soothes them with remembrance. This continuous connection builds resilience, because the one who is always connected to Allah can never truly be broken by the pressures of this dunya. The Prophet ﷺ said that the closest a servant is to Allah is while in sujood. This means that every time you prostrate, you are not only submitting but also strengthening. Your tears on the prayer mat are not signs of weakness, they are seeds of power, watering the soil of your iman. When you pray tahajjud in the quiet of the night, when the world is asleep but your heart is awake, you are building a fortress around your dignity and faith. The angels bear witness, Allah listens, and your soul is renewed with a strength that no worldly test can shake. Prayer and dua are also shields against the whispers of Shaitan. He works tirelessly to weaken your faith, to steal your confidence, to tempt you into compromise. But every time you stand for salah you are resisting him. Every time you raise your hands in dua, you are striking him with a weapon he cannot defend against. A Muslim woman who guards her prayer and fills her life with dua becomes untouchable to Shaitan's tricks, because her reliance is firmly placed on Allah. Another beauty of prayer and dua is that they realign your priorities. The world constantly tells you to chase wealth, status or validation. But prayer brings you back to the truth: nothing matters more than the pleasure of Allah. Dua reminds you that no matter how much control people claim to have, real control belongs to Allah alone. This perspective is powerful, because it removes fear of creation and replaces it with trust in the Creator. A woman who trusts Allah through her prayers and supplications walks with a quiet strength, because she knows that her affairs are in the best of hands. The lives of the righteous women in Islamic history show us how prayer and dua gave them unmatched resilience. Maryam as turned to her Lord in solitude and found strength to face her people. Khadija Raif supported the Prophet with unwavering faith rooted in her trust in Allah. Fatima Ray lived a life of simplicity but carried herself with dignity, because her heart was full of remembrance. Their strength was not in worldly possessions but in spiritual connection. This same connection is available today for every woman who seeks it in prayer and dua. When the pressures of society become overwhelming, when voices around you try to shake your identity, when the dunya feels like a storm, prayer is your safe harbor and dua is your rope to cling to. With them, you are never alone, never powerless, never abandoned. They are the keys to inner peace, the sources of courage and the guardians of your dignity.